with just a
All right,
quick overview of how to use Camino.
great. Again, this is Posey, and I wanted to quickly go over what Camino is, uh, how it works in conjunction with the various intake forms that we have to give you the total solution. Whereas the intake forms can be accessed by all sorts of different volunteers that you sign up for, Camino, the backend administration platform, which is what this is, allows you to do things like add additional volunteers, view data, report data, approve applications, and add additional information that backend administrators, fund approvers, distributors can use the system to manage. So the URL to log into Camino is right here. It is mobilepathways.force.com/Camino. And if you're one of the designated contacts, you will be provisioned with a password and user ID. And if you want additional backend managers, we can also provision that. When you log in, this is the page that you'll land on. This is the home page. And you'll see that featured very prominently on the home page is a dashboard. Dashboard is a collection of reports that we have predefined for you that you can use as templates to create additional reports to even help you manage your fund distribution and your application management even better, and also to gather some intel and understand the demographics. So without further ado, let me just quickly run through the process from beginning to end, and then we'll end up using reports and dashboards to see where things landed. So once your end users have used the intake form, which is right here, when you use the intake form to type in information about the person you're trying to help, the household you're trying to help, that is going to create a application form. And the application form by default is going to tell you that, hey, this is something that require your review. When you click on it, you will see that um, all the questions and answers are in here that you have asked for. And not only that, there are fields on top that help you to manage how you are going to make this payment available to them. Ultimately, we're looking for funds delivered to be true, like that, just double click, and the amount of payment to be specified, and the application status equals approved and save. That will count as something that has been marked as approved and funds distributed. Once you have done this, the reports will automatically pick this up, and this will be reported to GSER, and no additional work is required from your end. Okay.
A
And
very common question, Posey, that I just wanted that we get this from a lot of partners. There's a difference between approved and funds delivered.
correct,
So if you go back to those dashboards, there are different dashboards that show delivered. I have
correct,
actually gotten my check. I'm holding it in my hands to
correct,
approve, but the money has not gotten there. And
right,
there's a lot of questions on that, so I just wanted to double underline that point.
right. And ultimately, what is counted is funds delivered, right? Approved, you may be approving this so that somebody else can cut a check or somebody else can put a gift card together. So everybody's um, got a different office workflow where this happens. Approved just means, hey, this is something to do still. Funds delivered means there's nothing more to do. I hope this makes sense. Okay. And you can use the various list views in here to help you figure out which additional processes need to be, which additional applications need to be processed. Say, for example, I've put in here to say, hey, I assessed everybody ought to get $500, but they're not yet approved, right? And so me as a manager, I might need to go in there and approve it. And I can also use a batch edit capability to say, yeah, I approve all of these, for example. Okay. And when you say apply, say save. This will set these two to approved. Okay. You as a user, you can also create new lists and pick new fields to filter on. And everybody's got different set of fields. So I would encourage you to explore that. Okay. One view that I like the most is I like the notion of a Kanban view. So if you were to come here, you can display it as a table or display it as Kanban. If you were to do this, you see how everything's organized into columns? I can simply drag and drop to move the various reports, various applications into the various statuses, and things are totaled up for you.
And if I could add something here too, another common question we get from many new users and actually existing ones, because there are lots of volunteers and staff are helping, is how do I delete an application? Well, here it shows you can't actually delete, but you can mark them as invalid. So this is a really easy way. If you make errors or there's something wrong with the application, they cannot be deleted, but you can mark them as invalid, and you can just drag and drop right here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Um, so this lets you put data into the system. Now, how do you get data out of the system? You see that there's a report and a dashboard tabs. There are functions that you can use here. But before I go there, I want to take you back to the home page. On the home page, we have one dashboard already predefined for you. Again, this is a sample. Not everybody use the same thing. I'm going to hit the refresh button. Every time you log in, it's already going to get refreshed for you. Okay. So in this case, I just approved a whole bunch, so I saw that this number came up. Okay. Every time you see a number that lights up or a word that lights up, you can click on it, and that will get you to the underlying data. Every time that you see a table like this, as long as it's less than 200 rows, you can come down here and click on View Detail, and the details will be there for you. Okay. Every time you see an application with a number on it, you can click on it. This is the one that we just edited, and come back right back into this area. Okay. So you don't have to construct reports from scratch. You can edit or use the ones that are on the homepage that are pre-configured for you. If you so want to create dashboards or reports on your own, we also have samples that you can copy from. When you're in here, you can search for reports. They're all stored in a folder called Jesus Sample Report. You all have access to it. It's under the folder, so if you were to hit all folder, this will be one of the only ones that you will see. And inside, there are all sorts of different reports that answer different asks, different questions. You can use those as starting points. Say, for example, I want to know applications by zip code. I can run this report, and that will tell me. And as these are sample data, you can tell that data, some of them are fake. Okay, and that's how I know how much I've given out per zip code. If you want to get even more fancy than this, a dashboard is a grouping of reports that can be run all at the same time. Like I mentioned before, we've done a few sample ones for you. This is the one that you've seen on the home page, so it has exactly the same thing. Obviously, I don't have all the data. I'll show you another one. This is another one that we put together that has different gauges showing, and it has charts showing, and there are different ways that you can use to group the reports. So feel free to explore. Questions specifically to do with reports before we move on to other topics. Oh, sorry, there is one more thing. Reports are exportable. So as soon as you run a report, you can export. And when you export, there are two options. One, it's in formatted reports. What that means is it'll look like a chart like this, and it's good to print. And it has all the header information and footer information. It's good for printing. Or if you export details only, this will come out with rows and records that you can do Excel or Google Sheet Magic to additional group and additional display the data that you have. Thoughts before we move on to other topics? All right. So all's quiet on the reporting side. Bart, going back to you, are there any questions in chat?
Looking.
No, there are no
Nope.
questions.
Okay. So in that case, I'll turn the floor back to you, and we can turn this back into the regular office hour.
Yes, and I did.
Quick question.
Just real quick before we get to questions, while Posey's still on the screen, Francisco is recording bite-sized versions of this. You can see the new training videos. That link is continually updated. It is a playlist of videos. So they're very short. They're both in English and in Spanish. So just also realize, and please share with your staff and volunteers that we are trying to record and make this available. At this point, yes, let's open up the floor. And I think Patricia was first.
Yeah, thank you, Bart. I had a quick question regarding the weekly reporting form, the weekly aggregate report form. So say, for example, if we weren't able to report on previous weeks because we still didn't have the numbers for the data, do we go ahead and go back and still submit the form, or based on the data submitted for each week, that information can be covered on the report form and there won't be a report form needed? Or do we go ahead and submit a report form for those weeks?
You need to submit the report form for each week. That's assuming you're not using the detailed report form, right? You're not using this intake process?
So I think I may be able to add some insight there. So she does have rows. Patricia does have a Google Sheet that we're in the process of editing that will be uploaded. So if you provide us a list of rows, like 25, 50 rows for a specific week, you will not need to submit an aggregate report there.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yep. The aggregate report is only those who have other systems that are already monitoring or administrating their system, or they're just not big enough to do the detailed reporting. They will report once a week only. So doing this detail and this are two different things.
Okay, I see. So say, for example, moving forward, if we continue to do our applications through Camino only, we won't need to have to do the aggregate report form.
Absolutely.
Okay. So as far as the stories, though, I'm submitting the stories to GSER. Then would we then submit it via email or through the aggregate report form, the stories that are needed monthly?
So if you already have the stories in here, you don't have to separately submit. There's already a box that says, can I share your story? What is your story? Right. So as long as it's in here, I think it's in here somewhere. I may not be showing right. Yeah, as long as it's in here, you don't have to separately submit it.
Okay. Yeah, because on our application, our intake form, it doesn't have the sharing story option on the application, but we do have the stories of some community members to meet that requirement.
So you see how these are the sample ones, right? And these ones are the ones with stories.
Yeah, I think you went past it. So go up a little bit. Let's just see. Share your story.
It's somewhere around here.
We'll double check to make sure it's visible.
It should be on there.
This is Kevin from GSER. It is in there. If you're using the intake platform and you check yes on the drop-down menu, can I share your story? It pops up with a new field where you would then be able to enter the details of the story in there.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because our intake form doesn't have the share story option.
We'll take a look after this call just to double check on that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because if not, if we have the the capacity to be able to, the ability to be able to go back and add their story on their file, we have the information to be able to add it on there. If need be.
Absolutely, you can. We
Okay,
don't
awesome.
lock down the records after you distribute the funds. So absolutely go back and please put the stories in there, and just so
Awesome.
we'll be able to get it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was those were my only questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bart, back to you.
I'm going to pause the recording at that point.